Hi everybody, welcome. My name is Joe and I'm going to be playing Merfolk here against my friend Rich, who is testing Scapeshift with the addition of Thing in the Ice from Shadows Over Innistrad. We are going to start a matchup right now. Thing in the Ice so far in our limited testing seems to be a really cool addition to Scapeshift. The card such great defense against aggressive strategies, just really slows down attacks in the early game, and if it gets to the mid game, could potentially bounce the opponent's entire team. And Scapeshift, all it really wants is time until it gets a bunch of lands, and then just cast its namesake spell and win the game. So I don't know what Rich is doing here. Waiting for him to roll the die. Okay. So I won. This hand is terrible, so I'm going to mulligan. Wait for Rich to draw his 7 though. Just have courtesy. Okay, so I'm going to mulligan. This is much better. But I'm going to wait for him to tell me if he's mulliganing or not. Before I tell him if I'm keeping my 6, you have to take turns. Okay, so I'll keep scrying. View the top card of my library, and that's nice. It's a good card to have, but I don't have the lands for that right now. I am on the play, so it's going to put... Well, I do have 3 card draw spells. I'll keep that there. We'll see how it goes. I mean, it might be silly, but we'll see how it goes. So, here we go. An island, and pass the turn to Rich. Let's see what he's got. Maybe a suspended Search for Tomorrow. Okay, so that's nice because we can use our Spreading Seas. It's possible that we're giving him blue that he lacks, but we're taking him off red and green, which makes me pretty happy. Alright, so that was a good turn too. We still want to hit lands. A land on our next draw step would be great. But we do get to play a Silvergill. So he's calling me a jerk. He didn't like that. Sorry about that. Okay, now he's got 2 islands, which isn't too bad, and a Thing in the Ice. If I draw a land off of a Silvergill or on the draw step, I'm probably going to dismember this guy. Well, there's another Harbinger of the Tides. Expensive Stomping Ground, yes. Yeah, that was. So no land yet. So the plan is to play a Silvergill Adept. We will reveal another Silvergill Adept and hopefully draw a land. Not yet. I'm going to have to wait a little bit longer. This is a pretty strong hand at this point. Rich is a little stuck on lands, it looks like. Hopefully that gives us a little bit of time to hit that 3rd land that we need. Again, we should get an extra chance at it through Silvergill Adept, as long as Rich continues to tap out. Another Thing in the Ice, possibly. Or not. What is he playing here? Removing a counter before he plays a spell. Farseek. Okay. Well, that's nice. That fixes his mana. But Farseek stipulates that you have to put it into the battlefield tapped, so no choice on this shock land. So once again, I have a tapped out opponent, and well, I guess he has his lands. Can't counter anything though right now. Can only assume that he's leaving this red mana up for the same reason he left this red mana up at the beginning, which is probably for Lightning Bolt. This Silvergill Adept has to draw us land. Just probability. Statistics. Never works when I say that. So now we have a lot of beautiful spells and no beautiful lands. Those are pretty good 6 cards that we kept. It might have been a mistake keeping that Master of Waves on top, actually, in retrospect. Clearly it was, but had we drawn into running lands, or even just one land with all of the card draw spells that we had, it might not have been a mistake. Looks like Rich might bolt me, or bolt my Adept, to remove a counter from Thing in the Ice and use his mana efficiently. See, bolting the player as a Scapeshift player makes sense because a Scapeshift, when cast with 7 lands, hits for 18. So if I'm sitting at 20, you know, as a Merfolk player, we don't play any fetches or shocks, so I'm typically sitting at 20 if they're not providing any pressure. So a bolt really increases his clock by an entire turn. Okay, so Valakut says, whenever a mountain enters the battlefield under your control, if you control at least 5 other mountains, you may have Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, deal 3 damage to target creature or player. At this point, he only controls 1 mountain. His other mountain is now an island. So we're in no danger from him just playing mountains and starting to bolt things. That's only going to come into effect if he casts Scapeshift. So here's our land. It's very nice, well timed. I think what I'm going to do here, if he has a Remand in hand, or a Cryptic Command, for example, I'm going to pretend like I don't have a land and just run out a Lord, hopefully get him to spend his mana, then play my Mutavault and dismember his Thing in the Ice. Not optimal. I'm giving him a lot of time, but I don't really have many choices here. Playing Lord also gives me potential access to double. Yeah, here we are. So Remand, and sure, goes back to my hand. And he draws a card, and I have to hope that this resolves here, because it's a blowout if it does not. Alright, that's nice. I mean, he's still well on his way to Scapeshift mana, and in game 1 I don't have any counter spells, and Curse Catcher doesn't do very much against 7 mana. Or, yeah, 7 mana is probably when he wants to cast Scapeshift, because it doesn't do anything if he casts it on 6 mana. He doesn't see enough mountains in that case. Alright, well, this is not really terrible. If we draw another land next turn, play a Lord, activate Mutavault, we would be swinging for 9. Pretty fast clock. I have to assume that he has some good cards in his hand. He didn't cast Cryptic last turn, even though he had access to the appropriate mana. He obviously didn't have 2 Remands, so that makes me think he doesn't have Cryptic Command. So he is now 1 mana away from casting a lethal Scapeshift, which is unfortunate, because I certainly can't win next turn, even if I do draw optimally. I think at this point, hitting a land is really, the best possible draw. But even then, like I said, we're only pushing 9 damage next turn. And Rich certainly has some cards in hand. He's probably holding a bolt up, like we've been saying from the beginning. So I drew a Rejury, which means that I didn't draw my land, and I can attack with Mutavault. Well, attacking with Mutavault is a 2-turn clock, but playing a Lord, he would just bolt my Mutavault if I activate it. So here we go. Rejury probably resolves, probably gets bolted. Hence the untapped Stomping Grounds the entire game. Maybe I don't know what he's contemplating here. I'm not even going to manually update my toughness. Snapcaster, Bolt. There we are. Snapcaster, Bolt, block 1 of the Silver Gills. This is all okay. It's just stuff that happens. Okay. That works. Damage. This, let's see. So he took 2 from combat, and he took 1 to fetch his land. He's now at 6 lands. This would be a different game if I had drawn land earlier. Putting the Master Waves at the bottom, we can see now, wouldn't have made a huge difference because I've only drawn one Mutavault after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What? There's 7 cards here plus. So I've drawn 6 cards, and I hit 1 land out of all of those 6. So the Scry was not pivotal in this game at all. But I really needed more lands to get things going. Looks like Rich is thinking pretty hard here. If he had a land in Scapeshift, he would just play them, hopefully. Okay, Thing in the Ice. That's fine. Okay. And if I don't draw a land, the plan is certainly to... Why would he not... Why would you not just cast that? It's lethal. Maths. Okay. Good game. Game 2. So that was a little bit slow rolling on Rich's part. So I recently updated my sideboard because I found that the new Thopter and Thopter Foundry, Sword of the Meek decks are just running a lot of main deck damnations. And control is becoming bigger again, presumably because combo is becoming more of a threat, and the Eldrazi aggro threat has receded. So let's figure out what I want to do here with my sideboarding. I brought in all my counter spells. That's typically what you want to do against a combo deck, well, or a control deck. Scapeshift is sort of both of those things. Harbinger is decent against Thing in the Ice. Dismember is better, but Dismember hits my life total, which is something I want to avoid if possible. Relic hits Snapcaster, but otherwise it doesn't really do a lot. Tidebinder only hits Sakura Tribelder. I don't think Rich is bringing in Primeval Titan or anything like that. Or what's the other one? Inferno Titan. I don't think he's going that way. None of this row of cards does anything against his deck. So we're definitely bringing in 6. Let's start thinking about what our worst cards are in the matchup. Ether Vial is decent because it gets around the counter magic. So we're keeping that in. Alright, so we're going to need to bring out our Spreading Seas. These games go a little bit too long for Spreading Seas to be relevant, and Rich has to play islands. He just has to. He's not playing too many hinterland harbors and things like that. So this is starting to look better. We only have to remove 2 more cards. We do not need 4 Harbingers for sure. We can take 1 of those out at least. Again, with the Dismembers, I think we can probably take 1 of those out. This puts us at 60, which is fine. Now the question is, does Relic do a better job than some of the other cards in the deck? Echoing Truth is probably largely irrelevant. Our creatures are just getting bounced anyway, and we have Dismember and Harbinger of the Tides to handle his things in the ice. He only really has it probably runs 4 of them, but we're not going to be bouncing multiples of them. So I think I'm going to take out at least the Echoing Truth and bring in 1 of the relics. The relic at worst cycles to keep my hand filled with creatures and counter spells, which is really what I want in this matchup. Since Island Walk is on most of the time, and Ether Vial helps me quickly deploy my creatures, I really don't know that Dismember is that interesting here. Since his guys can't block a lot of the time anyway. Although it is kind of a big threat, the Thing in the Ice. So I don't know. That's a little bit tricky, this last card here. I think Relic is just better value here. Alright, so this is the sideboard plan. We brought in 6 counter spells, 2 relics, took out 4 Spreading Seas, 1 Harbinger of the Tide, and 3 creature interaction spells. Alright, we are ready to start. Not amazing, but it'll do. It'll do. Actually, it's pretty okay. We've got our protection against counter spells, and we can slow roll the Cavern of Souls to potentially have Rich leave up Remand mana I will keep. He mulligans sometimes before I say that I'm going to keep, which frustrates me a little bit because it's a little loose. I always want my friends to play tightly. Alright, he's on a mulligan to 5, and I have protection against his counterspells. I have a counterspell of my own, and a couple of creatures. Hopefully I won't have to sacrifice the Curse Catcher early. Although, in this case, where he's on a multi-5 with a very long decision being made about his scry, and he put it on the bottom, I could see myself, let's see, I can see myself sacrificing a Curse Catcher to counter something like a Serum Visions, because I really want to keep him off of card selection and hope that the mulligan does him in. Okay, so now a Silvergill would be really good. Let's see what we get. Alright, another Curse Catcher. That's not terrible. We're still going to slow roll the Cavern of Souls. There's no way he can counter anything right now. Leaving Negate up does not seem optimal. Let's go through what's happening next turn. I have Curse Catcher through Vial. That's no problem. But then the following turn, I'm going to want to take Vial up and play Reejerey out. So it seems potentially best to leave Negate up. Although if Rich plays another land and then something like a Thing in the Ice, that becomes sort of a losing play. Actually, Negate I want to keep until the later part of the game, so I'm going to go ahead and play a Curse Catcher here. And no surprises, I'm just going to put the other one out. He knows that I wouldn't, I wouldn't pay for the Curse Catcher if I had the Ether Vial on one, so it's extremely transparent as it is. Search for Tomorrow had 2 suspend counters, and he just removed one of them. That will resolve and get him another land next turn. It's possible on a mulligan to 5 he only had 1 land. But who knows? It's pretty funny, actually. If he only has 1 land, I could sacrifice both Curse Catchers to counter this next turn. Alternatively, I could also just cast Negate. So, alright, it looks like he's leaving Remand up, which is nice for me. I will untap, add a counter, and I think what happens here is, let's see. I have the Negate, which I feel like I want to use optimally. I've got lands too, so I don't really have to take up my Ether Vial. If I can keep that on 2 for a little while, that's going to be good. Alright, so let's just hope that on his mulligan he doesn't have a ton of options. He's not sitting on Bolt and Remand. So here is Mirror Reejerey. He's got to let it resolve. And then probably bolt it. Let's go ahead and attack without updating the power and toughness because I predict a bolt. Maybe he's got a Snapcaster that he wants to possibly block with. That seems hasty to waste a Snapcaster in such a manner. Alright, here we are. Now, do I want to sacrifice both of my Curse Catchers to save this guy? It's an interesting question. And I think the answer is no, we do not. Okay, so he took his 2 damage, and, my hand is pretty thin at this point. Okay, that resolves. He's waiting for me to acknowledge it because I could try to sacrifice my Curse Catchers. We really need to draw some more creatures. Very interested to know what Rich has. It's kind of funny that I kept a 7-card hand, and Rich mulligan to 5, and my board doesn't look substantially better than his at this point. A little bit depressing. But hey, we have a counterspell if he wants to try to cast Scapeshift, which is the sort of #1 plan of the deck. Alright, sometimes the deck does this. It's a little bit obnoxious. Alright, so we'll start by attacking, because why not? What's he thinking about? Snapcaster Bolt. Oh, get out of here. Anticipate. Okay, that's fine. I have no problem with spells like that. Certainly not worth one of my few counter spells. So Rich is going to look at the top 3 cards of his library. One of them goes to his hand, and the rest go to the bottom of his library in any order. Also, by accepting, these little spells, lesser spells like Anticipate quickly, I hope to not represent my counter magic. So is he blocking? What's going on here? Damage. Okay, so go to damage, second main phase, play out yet another island and an ether vial. I don't think he's going to want to remand that, so we say okay. Alright. So my hand was a little bit land heavy, if I recall. I think it was Negate, Curse Catcher, Mirror Regery, and 3 lands. And we have not drawn amazingly since then. We hit another land, an Ether Vial, and a Curse Catcher. That just means there's a lot of other good stuff waiting now on the top of the deck. Okay, Steam Vents comes into play. Rich is already almost at 10, half his life total, sitting at 11, so just a little bit of pressure could push him over the edge. Okay, what's happening here? Okay, thing in the ice. Now we really want to hit a Lord to turn Island Walk on, in which case we might even use our Negate to protect the Lord, because that might just be our path to victory. The Curse Catchers become quite a clock. Untap. If we draw a Silvergill, we really need him to come into play right now, so we have to unfortunately leave this at 2. Okay. More counter magic. Squeak some damage in. Let's see how it goes. Hopefully Rich just doesn't hit any more lands. I don't know why he didn't suspend his Search for Tomorrow. I guess he's leaving up. Again, Remand. Snapcaster, but Snapcaster can't grab anything right now. I question, because he does have a, didn't he, man, I don't know what I'm thinking about here. Let's see, what's he doing? Okay. Serum Visions is okay at this point. I mean, if he was stuck on one land, like I was saying, I wouldn't want him to resolve a card like this that lets him look at so many cards on the top of his deck. But at this point, it's really not worth one of my counter spells. These things are pretty precious. Let's see if he plays a land this turn. Okay, there it is. Search for Tomorrow. Suspended. I'm guessing no land? No land. Bodes well for me. Upkeep, we're going to pump both of these Ether Vials up. Draw a card. Alright, Curse Catchers in action. Actually, this is becoming pretty reasonable, I guess, because with him limited on... yeah, I know. Him limited on mana, Curse Catchers can really constrict him. If he bounces my team, I can play it all out in one turn. So there's that. Okay, so he's taking 1. We go to our second main. And still 2 counterspells in hand. Not much else to do. Hopefully Rich doesn't draw any more land. At some point I'll hit an Island Walk Lord. And we'll just push damage in for the win with counterspells backing us up. Prior to the recent unbannings and bannings, I had 2 negates in my sideboard with 2 negates in the sideboard with 3 dispels, so 5 counter spells total on top of the curse catchers. But with all of the damnations running around right now, especially in the Thopter Foundry decks, I've gone up to the full 4 negates in the sideboard. It's not often that Merfolk worries a lot again about other players' creatures. So negate hits pretty much every single thing that we care about, every single non-creature spell. It hits planeswalkers, sorceries, instants, all of that stuff. Looks like Rich is getting a little bit worried here. Do I waste a dispel on my curse catcher? I guess I have 4 more. No, I'm sorry. I have 4 more counterspells in the deck, and the curse catcher's on board. Let's go ahead and let's dispel this. I don't even care. Dispel for lightning bolt is usually a good trade. So the 2 cards in hand have to be spells at this point, since he's not playing any lands. He can flip Thing in the Ice pretty soon. I'm saving this negate for Scapeshift, unless there's something that's otherwise really, really pressing, but I can't think of what that might be. Another Thing in the Ice, maybe? It's interesting that the Thing in the Ice number 1 does not bounce Thing in the Ice number 2. Because it's a horror, and this thing bounces non-horrors. It's kind of strange. Alright, now he's got 2 blockers. We're going to go ahead and move this to, well, let's see. Because we're equally, well, no, we're a little bit more likely to draw a Master of Waves at this point. So, yeah, I think we add our counter here. There he is. That's pretty nice. So we will hold that for a long while. We're going to attack with our 3 little guys. This is kind of funny. Very interesting draw this game. Yep, that's how that'll go. Takes 1, and we end our turn. Okay, so one of his 3 cards was a Thing in the Ice, and maybe he has a Scapeshift in his hand, but it's kind of useless. Okay, that's, yep, that's fine. So that Search for Tomorrow removed a counter, and now this thing is threatening to flip the team. Actually, I think the play is not to put Master of Waves in at the end of the turn, but rather to replay all my curse catchers and then bring Master of Waves in. It's a little bit sad bringing Master of Waves in with no other blue devotion. Okay, so we still don't know what the 2 cards are in Rich's hand. I think he did miss a land drop last turn. This turn he got a land through Search for Tomorrow and Valakut, and he's getting pretty close to Scapeshift, but I still have a counter spell in hand. Oh wow, did I just miss my... Well, it's okay. I'm going to slow roll this Master of Waves, I think. I think Rich is... I mean, that might be a little bit silly, but we'll see how it goes. Alright, we can use mana to play Master of the Pearl Trident, and then if our team gets bounced, can put him back into play with Ether Vial. Rich has 6 lands, going on 7. 7 is not lethal at this point, and we have counter magic up for all sorts of things that could go wrong, so Master of the Pearl Trident. Here we go. Okay. Now it's an interesting question whether we counter removal against Master Pearl Trident. Now the thing is, well, a bolt would be silly at this point, I guess, because this trigger goes on top of it and bounces my creatures before the bolt can resolve. So I guess we go ahead and start combat. If he cryptic commands, again, it bounces my team anyway. It's really interesting. This thing always creates interesting stacks because, you know, I always want to respond to it. So we attack. We see if he blocks. Well, okay, what's happening here? Okay, Snapcaster Mage. Okay. So Snapcaster resolves. Can't do anything about that. Like I said, we don't really care about creatures. We care about non-creatures. And what is he going to try to cast here? That's fine because it must. Oh, he's going to bolt my face. Well, that's just dumb. So my team is getting bounced. Bolt fizzles. I think Rich will learn from his misplays eventually. Well, at this point, I think we have to leave up. Well, he's got attacks. Live and learn. So, alright, if he has Scapeshift, Curse Catchers alone are not going to be able to counter it next turn. I can chump this thing. He's getting low on cards. We know one of them is Snapcaster Mage now. So let's see. Exile your Bolt, please. So we kind of want to leave Negate up, huh? And then next turn, if we play, at the end of his turn, we Violin the Master. And this is a tough call. We have blocks for this thing if we play 2 Curse Catchers out. So I think that's the way to go. And if he bounces the team again, that's an unfortunate tempo swing. Well, I don't know. I might be living and learning also. Okay, that resolves, and presumably this one resolves. And we are going to pass the turn and hope that nothing crazy happens. Well, we have a there's another Snapcaster Bolt here online. I think what I'm going to... well, he knows I have the Master of the Pearl Trident in hand. So if I try to do Master of Waves and bait like a Bolt out... Oh, man. Well, could he... If he plays a land, he could Snapcaster Bolt and then Scapeshift. But then I could counter it with Curse Catcher, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, I could sack both of my Curse Catchers if he goes that way. If he Snapcaster Bolts my face. But we know, so one of the cards in his hand is Snapcaster. Oh man, I have to think about this. This can put a lot of pressure on with this guy. But I'm really hoping to win next turn. I mean, Rich tapping out to pump his horror seems pretty good for me right now, because I'm happy to take whatever, like 12 damage or something, and then swing back with Island Walk for the win. But he can Snap Bolt my Lord, which is a little bit sad. So Scapeshift. Alright. He's thinking about what. Do I try to tax him here, or do I do it later with the Curse Catchers? So now this guy's on 1 counter. And he's gonna flip. This guy will flip and bounce my team if he Snap Bolts, and they can both attack. But at that point, he'll be tapped out, and I can bring in my other guys and block that way. So these guys are going to get bounced. This is a little complicated. Okay, these guys will get bounced when this thing flips. So so when Scapeshift resolves, he's going to get 6 lands into play, all tapped. So I think we're just going to let Scapeshift resolve now. I should have left my negate up, I guess. Anyhow, okay, do it. I'm not sure how big a difference this all makes. I think he's forced to do this now. Well, he's floating his mana. Okay, so yeah, of course, floating 2 and 1. He's going to sacrifice 6. Oh wait, if he gets, all right, so he can't get another Valakut at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, sacrificing 6, getting 6. These are all going to be tapped. Man, I couldn't have known that the single card in his hand was Scapeshift, I guess, but 1, 2, 3, 4. Mountain, 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 mountain. There's his 6 lands. Okay. They all enter tapped, and 18 damage is going somewhere. Okay. Alright, so that doesn't leave him very much, actually. So now he's going to my face. Okay, that's 3. And 4 triggers for 12 life. 4 triggers for 12 life. Right, so I go to 8. I think I can win on the crackback. No, maybe not because of his stupid walls. Oh wow, am I going to be a 1? This is kind of exciting. Oh, but he has Snapcaster Bolt. Nah, damn it. Okay, so in retrospect, I probably should have left Negate up against the late game Scapeshift situation. But, oh, well, let's play it out. I don't know. Oh, so Snapcaster got bounced again. Wow, that's really nice synergy. So he's coming in now with these guys, and I'm gonna make some dudes. Block, block. And maybe I win. Well, I'm not doing my math here, but no, I think I'm a little bit short, unless I draw another Lord. Forgot for a second that I had my blockers. Okay, so how many outs do I have? A lot, actually. I think I have a lot of outs. 7 plus 3, 10 lords. Actually, a Master of Waves does it also. All right. Yeah, that is so cool. I hadn't given up. That's fantastic. Wow. All right. Oh, man. I almost scooped too soon. I shouldn't have played my curse catchers. Live and learn. Game 2. Oh, that was a good one. So let me concede. Yeah, so the first game we played was off the record. I was trying to record one of our earlier games, but there was some technical difficulty because The mic wasn't working. We re-rolled that game because it was a new match, and I'm ready to start again. Or wait. That game was sideboarded. You're totally right. Alright, let's shuffle. So this hand is slow, but I still like it. So Rich is on the play here. I guess keeping. I actually find it a little bit hard to concentrate when I'm recording these things. I don't have too much experience, so it's hard keeping track of everything. So I forgot about our first game, I guess, but I should have noticed that I had my sideboard in. That should have been a dead giveaway. So I guess I should be thinking also, but I find it hard to mulligan spells and creatures, especially when I have protection against counter magic. Well, that was a pretty sensational game. Just wish I had stayed a little bit more aware before semi-scooping. All right. Well, that's good. At least it's Merfolk. So play our island, play our Ether Vial. And again, we always want to slow roll Cavern of Souls in case our opponent chooses, for example, to keep Remand up instead of playing out a Sakura Tribelda or something like that on turn 2. Leading on Cavern of Souls just lets them know from the get-go that their counter magic isn't nearly as valuable or effective. Okay. All right, so he's leaving up a bolt here, potentially. No Serum Visions that turn. So now the question is whether we run out the Lord, hoping to bait a bolt, or do we play the other Ether Vial? That's pretty good also. We do have a lot of creatures to deploy and not a lot of lands at this point. And if we keep drawing gas, one good way to win is to make sure that we can cast everything or get everything on the table. So post sideboard, he might run something like Engineered Explosives, which would be really unfortunate. But I think that's the line I'm going to take at this point. I'm going to play the other Ether Vial, because we need to get all these creatures onto the table. Maybe he'll bolt my face now. I guess we explained that earlier, why that's a reasonable option for Scapeshift. It's interesting, I've been seeing a lot of Ancestral Vision now that it's been unbanned, and with Search for Tomorrow also, if Scapeshift happens to see a revival in light of Thing in the Ice and potentially Ancestral Vision, we'll be seeing more Suspend cards in Modern and might, as a result, see cards that interact with Suspend. The only one that I can think of off the top of my head is something like Wasteland Strangler, which can pull cards out of exile. So I can yank Rich's Search for Tomorrow if I play a Wasteland Strangler. So just ask if it's okay. Bring Curse Catcher in, and we'll go to our next turn, untap, move Ether Vials forward, and draw a card. That's pretty nice. With no Thing in the Ice, I think we just want to press our advantage here. Cast Marrow Regery. He probably has a bolt or two in his hand, but that's okay. Have to play our creatures. And attack. I was waiting before just bringing Regery onto the battlefield, despite Cavern of Souls, because sometimes players like to cast a Remand targeting the spell, even though it can't be countered, in order to cycle the card. I don't like to be too presumptuous and just throw my creature on the battlefield because it's uncounterable. It can still be targeted by counterspells. Most notable being Remand, but also Cryptic Command. Okay, so he took his 2 damage, and I'm not going to bring Lord of Atlantis in yet. I'm gonna wait for that a little bit. To play on his end step and hopefully just make his mana a little bit less effective. Alright, so we didn't see a bolt. That is good news for us. Since Marrow Reejery didn't get bolted there, I mean, it's possible that Rich is sideboarding in Anger of the Gods, but I haven't seen that yet in the couple of games that we've played. Actually played like 2 matches earlier in the week, and this is our 4th game today, I think. And I've never seen an Anger of the Gods, so I wouldn't put it past him. Is that... Didn't he just... Oh, I guess search tomorrow. Oh, get out of here. Yep, I called it. So let's go ahead and counter that, or try to. He'll pay for it. Curse Catcher goes here. Reejery goes there. Now I want to draw land. See, that's why we don't play all our creatures out on our main phase. Okay, so Lord of Atlantis. We advance our Ether Vials. Draw a card. Oi. Alright, well, we'll certainly have an Ether Vial on 4 next turn. Hopefully we'll draw land also. Takes his 2 and pass the turn. This is pretty slow stuff from Merfolk, but it's hard fighting against things like Anger of the Gods. Always has been, always will be. A negate would be a nice thing to draw at this point. I have plenty of pressure, but need a little bit of protection at this point against Scapeshift. Now, Dispel wouldn't be the best draw, although it's totally not terrible because Rich still has a lot of instant spells in his deck that it could target, but we really want to negate one of our 4 negates at this point, just specifically for Scapeshift, because that becomes the biggest risk at this point in the game. Okay, so what happened there? Top it looks like. No action going to the bottom of the library. Wow, he's just had so many lands. Okay, we untap, we go to 4, and draw our card. Well, that's not terrible. That gives us a redraw. So we're gonna Ether Vial that in. Now, in the hopes of drawing a land. Okay, so Rich is thinking. I assume he has a cryptic command or something. He wants to bounce something. I don't know. I mean, because even if Silvergill comes in, he can respond to. Let's see. Okay. I'm gonna play this guy now. Okay. Master Wave comes in before the bolt resolves. And we make more elementals. That's the idea. Okay, so now my Lord will die. This guy goes back to 2-1. And Vial number 1 will resolve. And again, hopefully draws a land. No land. So at this point, what do we want to do? None of these guys can attack at this point, and we're going to leave an Ether Vial on 2 no matter what. The question is whether we want Harbinger to be able to attack next turn. We have 6 power plus 4, which is 10. 2 does not change that clock unless if we play him, then we have 2 power, makes it 6 plus 6, 12, and then if we draw a Lord, then it's 15 for lethal. So yeah, he's not going to bounce anybody. I'm just going to play this guy now. Yeah. And let's see us get blown out again by an Anger of the Gods. But it's getting close to that turn where the Scapeshift opponent has 7 or 8 mana, and they can start to go crazy with their triggers. Actually, I'm not thinking clearly here. If I put a Master of Waves into play next turn, my elementals all get bigger, and that'll certainly be enough to close out the game. Actually, I still needed to play the Harbinger in this case because this would only be 9 power plus 4, 13. So yeah, this guy does make the difference, I guess. I had just been thinking about drawing a Lord to buff my Merfolk, but a Lord to buff the Elementals is pretty symmetrical at this point, since there are 3 Elementals and 3 Merfolk on the table. All right, Rich is taking a long time here to think. I have to assume if he had Snapcaster... What is this? 2 life. Okay, he put a Steam Vent into play. That's now 7 lands, which is pretty frightening. I was saying if he had a Snapcaster, he can just cast Anger of the Gods again, which is always a good decision, always a good choice. It's 5 for 1 in this case. Scapeshift. 7 mana. Okay. That's good. We haven't resolved... we haven't drawn any of our counter spells this game. Not even a Curse Catcher. Okay, so he's got a Valakut and then 6 Mountains coming into play tapped. This is Deja Vu here. Let's see how many he throws at me and how many... Oh, well, I guess Snapcaster Bolt again. Jesus, that would be terrible. But if he does that, then he's just drawing perfectly. Not much I can do about it. So he has mana for Snapcaster Bolt. We don't need to look at his graveyard anymore. If he starts picking off our creatures, that potentially bodes well. Okay, so... Valakut tapped already? Yeah, I think it was to cast the Scapeshift. Or no, Valakut just came into play, I think. Alright, so he's thinking about these triggers. Alright. Oh, well, he hits the Harbinger, so who knows what's happening here. We'll just have to wait and see. Master Wave has protection from red, so that is nice in this situation. Okay, are the rest coming at me? So now we've had 2 at creatures and 3 at my face, and there's 1 more to resolve. The 6th. He did take damage from his land, so he's at 13. We need to think about our math a little bit more. If these guys go up to... Wow, I could win if I draw land because I can play both masters. These guys become 4/4s. And that's it. Is he going to hit me or hit my creatures? Looks like he... Oh, whoa, no. That's... Oh, Jesus. I forgot. Valakut is colorless. That's always a bummer. Okay. So, a Rude Awakening. Of course, that's the play. No mana. Oh, is it Staticaster? Wow. That's totally insane. All right. Wow. Is it Staticaster? Yeah, so I'm at 11, and I don't know. Every mountain at this point is a bolt. Staticaster, I don't know. I kind of have to draw Kira at this point. I don't think I took her out. If I do not draw Kira, then I am pretty much going to lose. And let's see, I don't want to give him... If I play a Master of Waves right now, then he just uses this guy right now and kills him. So, but if I wait until the end step... I don't know if it makes a huge deal. If I play one now, I'll get one token, and he can pick the token. Oh, this is actually pretty good, because he can try to hit my token, and I can play the other one in response. All right, so let's see how this goes now. Create a token. It is a 2/1, and I'll go to end. He's going to try to do that, and I'm going to make another one. Yay! And get 2 more. Awesome. But I don't know if I'm alive still. I don't know how many mountains these decks play. Serum Visions. That is non-threatening, and I have no cards in my hand to respond with anyway. Snapcaster Scapeshift. He threw away 6 lands last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, there's 8 lands in the graveyard. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And he's got 6 out there now. I mean, he could Scapeshift for a bunch, I guess. But he only has 2 cards in his hand. So... this has been a pretty solid match so far. That last game was really exciting. Even if I... oh, okay. Well, so... I guess he has a Valakut and 1 card in hand. Which, if it's a very good card, could kill me. Like a Snapcaster or another Scapeshift. Even Anger of the Gods, I guess, is super solid. A Snapcaster for Anger of the Gods also hits me pretty hard. Though I think just Snapcasting the Scapeshift just wins. So it's a little bit silly to worry about my creatures if he can just hit me with 4 triggers. Okay, so, okay, he's looking at his top 2 cards. I was gonna just say he already played a land, but whatever. This is testing. Friendly magic, which is not cheating. Okay, he's passing the turn. Maybe a Cryptic Command. So negate is good here. Although, so I should probably do it in my upkeep. Tap my creatures. Seagate Wreckage is pretty solid. I can't remember if I mentioned this already on camera, but this is what this card is in the deck for. It's a small concession to change one of my blue sources into a colorless source in the deck. It doesn't affect the play a great deal having 1 extra colorless source, but it can potentially, in long games like this, the likelihood of drawing it becomes greater and greater. And games like this are exactly when I want this kind of a card, because I really need to see more cards. So in this case, I am going to go ahead and tap 3 lands and draw a card. An excellent land, Seagate Wreckage. Oh, wow. Well, I had no choice there, but that's pretty obnoxious. All right, let's try to attack here. Now, Snapcaster will just eat a Master of Waves. So, and one of them would get blocked anyway. So I think that we just attack with the Seahorses. I don't want to get blown out with a Snapcaster Wave, Snapcaster Mage blocking one of my masters at this point. If I can live till the next turn, there's should be no way that I can lose because of the negate here. No idea what card Rich is holding, but I guess he's thinking about this now. Well, that was really fortunate last turn that I was able to play both of these Master of Waves, making my elementals bigger. No, okay, no blocks. That's it. Let's do it. No. Okay. All right, that's it. Let's see what Rich has. Staticaster is pretty sweet, I think, against Merfolk. Can pick off multiple Curse Catchers or multiple Silver Gills, especially multiple All Right. That is not very threatening. And if that's what he just drew, with Negate backup, I feel really solid right now to win the game. Maybe he's going to scoop, I don't know. Let's see. I mean, I keep worrying about Snapcaster. 4? Is he casting Scapeshift? Okay. Sakura Tribe Elder. I saw 4 lands. He casting in the ice. I was really afraid he had Scapeshift in hand. Okay. I think, yeah. I don't know why he's sacking now to get a tapped land. Oh, a mountain to hit one of my guys? Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Double triggers. That's insane. Oh my goodness, of course. So many cool interactions. Sakura Tribe Elder, getting a mountain. Wait, so did he get a mountain? So, tap the mountain, first of all. Not a big deal, but it comes into play tapped. Okay, I guess my dudes are dead. And the negate would not have helped that. At this point, I'm really happy to have the Seagate Wreckage on the table, but the negate is just kind of rotting in my hand here. So we will leave the Master in hand. Okay, we're both top decking at this point. I've got a negate to counter any really scary stuff. And the Staticaster can't really harm my Master of Waves, and I've got Rich at a relatively low life total, so... Alright, he plays out his island, and I think I should play out my Lord here. Let me go ahead, untap and draw. Another Cavern of Souls, which is fine, but not really optimal. Set, where's the annotations? Here we are. Merfolk. Yeah, Merfolk. And we'll end. This is actually kind of unfortunate here, because I'm really jammed up on my Seagate Wreckage. I want to be drawing a lot of cards right now. But on the other hand, it's okay having a negate because I'm really only worried about Rich's non-creature spells. Namely, Scapeshift. Although he's got to be running out of lands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 still. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 8, 13, 16, 17, 18. Probably plays 24 lands. There's 6 more lands in the deck. That's definitely lethal with another Scapeshift. So as far as I'm concerned, he's got infinite number of lands in his deck. What's he doing? Scapeshift? Well, he doesn't even need to sacrifice a lot of lands because he has 2 Valakits here. Well, if he does this, then I get to activate Seagate Wreckage and draw a card, which is pretty nice on my turn. And potentially throw it out with Ether Vial, still on my turn, and then in the upkeep I can activate Seagate Wreckage. I really love this card. It's so interesting. It's really good against Jund decks and Abzan decks, any attrition matchups, any control matchups. Yeah, that's going to get countered. Okay, so that gets countered, and that's a little bit of a blowout, I think, for Rich, because now I get to draw cards, which is awesome. See, Seagate Wreckage works really well because... Oh, this is so great. Seagate. So good. And that's lethal on the board. I'm gonna activate it in the upkeep just because I can. All right, let's go ahead and attack. Yeah, it's a good card. Does Rich not know I have Island Walk here? Yeah, good game. That was an excellent match. So you guys got to see a little bit of how Thing in the Ice works, and how Seagate Wreckage works in Merfolk. It's quite a good card. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. We're probably going to play at least one more match tonight, so I will catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.